Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Wednesday, July the 8th, 2026. You may have heard the opening bell there in the background. The stock market has just opened up. We are officially trading now. Uh, Interestingly, as much as futures were down, let me click on this real quick for a second or two, and then let me switch my screen. I'm kind of talking and looking at a different screen. I have two computer screens up in front of me whenever I'm doing this, and you get to see one of them. But interestingly, as much as futures were down, we're opening up, and the markets are not maybe moving down quite as much as we thought they would. The Dow is down a fair amount, but the NASDAQ not nearly as bad as you might have expected. And a couple of stocks that we traded that pre-market looked like they were going to be way down are honestly not that bad. You've got AMD only down $4. Looked like it was going to be down a lot more than that, almost $5. Google down, although it was down a little bit more. That's good for our trade. Google only down a tiny bit, and that's good for our trade. It was up a second ago. Now it's only down a tiny little bit. Microsoft down nicely. That is good for our Microsoft trade. Micron is down, but not that bad. When you look at where Micron finished yesterday and where it's at right now today, not that bad. Nvidia down a little bit. And I don't know if any of you, I did not send it out as an official trade, but I shared with you what I did with SpaceX in the way of a like a regular traditional credit iron condor. And SpaceX, even though it's only up about $1.50, it was up right at the open, almost $3. But even though it's only up about $1.50, that's really good for my trade on that. If you happen to look at that and get into and follow that, I'm not counting that as an official SOS trade, but it's looking good nonetheless. And Nvidia now is actually up a little bit, as well as AMD being up a little bit. So again, in spite of how bad futures looked and the news that's driving futures, look at the NASDAQ only down 80 points pre-market. At one time pre-market, it was down, I think, over 300 points, and now down only 80. The Dow's taking a hit, no doubt, but the Dow has been the biggest, strongest, best mover since in the last week or so, since the other indexes have taken a little bit of a hit. So I guess what I'm saying is not that big a deal that there's a little more profit taking in the Dow versus what the other indexes are doing. So very interesting start to the day. Of course, you'd have to be living with your head buried in the sand to not know the news that is driving this. Trump finally had enough of what Iran is doing. And you remember, and I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back. I think anybody with a brain and a little bit of logic probably saw this and understood it the same way I did. Iran has been playing us since the first time we backed off of bombing and started having, what we thought were serious conversations with them. They've been playing us. And I don't believe that the president hasn't kind of sort of known that all along. But I do think he's maybe downplayed that a little bit to try and give them some wiggle room, to let them sort of kind of have that appearance of participating and being, for lack of a better way to describe it, an active part of serious discussions. But I think maybe I want to give the president a little bit of the benefit of the doubt here and say he's known all along that probably they were trying to play us. And I think all that did in the last couple of days was just bore itself out. I think every time it looks like we're making a little bit of progress on the whole situation over there, they lob some more bombs at some ships or some drones. We get upset and have to go in and bomb some more of their stuff. And until we go in and I, as much as I don't want to see us have to go to boots on the ground, I'm just telling you, in my opinion, that's all this is, my opinion. Until we do, they are not going to change what they're doing. They're not going to do anything different until we go in with boots on the ground and literally root out all of the command structure and probably a fair amount of the enlisted structure of the IRGC. Until we have done that, I don't think anyone should expect anything different than what has been going on. That they will say one thing in private to U.S. delegations. Trump loves to go out and report that, or have his surrogates go out and report that. If there's anything positive to report, he loves to go and report it immediately. And then the Iranians rush out to a public microphone and say the opposite. Say, we never agreed to that. We're not giving into this. We're not doing. And so they're talking a big talk. And if I were the president right now, I'd be pissed off, and I wouldn't stop until every member of the IRGC that I knew of, every one of them that I had a positive identification of, would be dead, would be wiped from the face of the earth. And I don't consider myself a violent person. I don't consider myself, I hate to see civilian casualties of any kind. That's not the type of human being that I think I am. But I think in this case, it's necessary to get this thing over with. And it's the only thing that will get it over with. So that's where we find ourselves. And I'm recapping what you know already. Of course, that going on has caused oil prices to jump up. However, I look at this, and what I see as it relates to these oil prices is this is still lower. That is still lower than where it was in the couple of days prior to us starting the strikes on Iran. And so when you look at it in that context, I think what I'm seeing here, this is what I take out of this. What I take out of it is the markets don't care that much, and the price is baked in for a something of a continuing conflict with Iran. I think the markets have now priced it and said, this is what we're going to have for the foreseeable future. It's not that people don't want it to be better. I certainly want it to be much better than it is. So it has nothing to do with not wanting it to be different than it is. But this is what we've got. And I think people are baking that in now and pricing that in and saying, this is where we are and this is the foreseeable future. And it is what it is. So that's kind of what I see going on with this. Now, I want to talk specifically about a couple of our trades. This doesn't need to be a really long podcast. I am not ignoring any of the collar trades. I see things continue to drift down. I see some things continue to be long puts that are in the money, and we still have about a week and a half before any of our long put options are expiring. And for that reason, I am more than willing to be patient and kind of watch. And I want to get a feel that we are really, truly in a good spot in terms of a level of support or something that is kind of giving us a little bit of a bounce. And then I'll roll some of those long puts. So you'll probably see some adjustments tonight. You'll probably see some tomorrow. But I'm not in a rush to do them. So I don't want anybody to give up and think that I am not managing or taking care of the collar trades. We've got a couple of new trades that we opened, Google and Microsoft. I had wanted to do some more than that this week, and I am still looking at more. We might send another triple play trade today. I have not sent out a regular SOS weekly spread trade yet. I had planned on doing that Monday at the end of the day. Didn't find anything I liked with any of the prices that I liked. I wanted to do that yesterday. Did not see anything that I liked the price on. And so that's where I'm at, is waiting to make sure that if I see a trade that I like in terms of the type of strategy, the company, I want to make sure the prices are really good on it. The reason you've seen a lot of in the money bull calls and this in the money bear put on the triple play side of things recently is quite honestly because the prices on long iron condors have been really, really difficult. We do a $5 spread on a long iron condor. I love to get into that thing for $4 or less. I've seen many of those that I have looked at that I would really like to do on a particular company, and the price has been 450, 460, where it normally with similar strike prices I think would be in the $4 range or the 395 or 385 range. So I've held off on those. So between the new trade we sent out on Google, the new one on Microsoft, and then the adjustments we've had to make on AMD and Micron, Be patient, sit tight. We'll get some additional trades sent out. We'll get some more stuff going, but I'm not going to force it when it's not there. Micron is up a little bit today, and I am still convinced that Micron is going back to 1,000 fairly quickly. I just don't think it'll happen this week. So I think we do need to be patient on that one. That's why we rolled it out. If you were not successful in rolling it out yesterday, I strongly suggest you try again today. Unfortunately, with the Micron one, we can't roll it out to the 17th, which was my first choice, because the 17th does not have the 995 strike. You'd have to go 990 and 1,000. That creates kind of a different spread, and it costs a little bit more than I was comfortable with. Likewise, we couldn't go out to the 24th and get the 995 strike without paying too much. The 995 strike was available, but it was just way too expensive. That's why we went to the 20th. Try again for the 20th. Let me know through a direct message if you're unable to do that, and I'll give you a little assist on that. But I would try to roll that again if you haven't done it already. So between AMD, Google, Microsoft, Micron, NVIDIA, we've got enough stuff open that I feel like we've got money at work and money at play to make us some profit. I feel good about where these trades are in spite of the last couple of days. Micron now up $12. AMD up $1.50 now. I'm liking these moves. Google, unfortunately, down a little bit today. Still, we're not down too much on the trade, and Microsoft down, which is a good thing. So all in all, I gotta refresh this again. It feels like the NASDAQ may be on the verge of going positive if it's not already. Only 50 down on the NASDAQ, which is way better than it was pre-market. And the Dow, even though it's down $430 a share, that's not that bad compared to where it was earlier. And I don't think this is one of the few times where I don't see an overreaction to the news. And take that exactly how that is said. I don't see it. Definitely there is a reaction to the news. I don't see an overreaction to the news, which I've become so accustomed to when we've had things like this go on. So all in all, looking good for it being down yesterday. My portfolio, my cash portfolio with these open spread trades in them. As much as it was down yesterday, I'm already back almost that much this morning, especially with the moves up on AMD and Micron, getting back a lot of what we were down on that one. So I kind of like where we're sitting. And the Microsoft trade looking fantastic. So hang in there. I think all these trades are going to be okay. I watch for potentially more trades coming out. We'll see how it goes. But don't be overly disappointed if there's not more new trades today or tomorrow. I'm going to do them as the prices and the trades themselves make sense. So have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll be back on live again tomorrow morning. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.